Now, this is an example of a very bad button, which I sometimes see mostly on sites created by junior devs. But I worked with a company recently. I helped them kind of fix some of their bugs, and they had something like this. I'm already giving you a hint that it's a button, but if you just look at the role, generic, you would expect to be a div, and indeed was created using a div. Hi everyone, thank you so much. My name is Karina. I'm a self-taught developer and accessibility engineer, and today I want to share with you a tool I love using when debugging for accessibility. But first, let's see what accessibility is. It's part of web development. It should be part of web development, and it's concerned with making sure that whatever we design and build for the web is available and can be understood and used by everyone, including disabled users. Not every developer or front-end developer needs to be an expert in accessibility, but we want to make sure that each and every one of us understands the basic of what makes a component accessible. And this tool can give you hints whether something you created might not be working for certain disabled users. So what is the accessibility tree? It's a modified version of the DOM. Just like the DOM, it's built at render time, but it only includes the nodes that need to be exposed to assistive technologies. Assistive technologies, these are hardware or software that some disabled users need to interact with the web. So for example, a blind user needs a keyboard and a software called a screen reader. You might have a user that cannot use their hands, so they choose to communicate with the computer, with the phone, with their voice. So they rely on a software called a voice recognition software. So these assistive technologies, via a set of accessibility APIs, they reach into the accessibility tree, they grab the information, and they expose it to the users. Now, luckily for us, because obviously, this tree is built on the back end, but in DevTools, we have a front-end version, which we can kind of look at and debug. So if we take this very basic navigation setup, we notice that each node is defined by the function it plays on the page, and we call that, the function is the role of the node. The role is followed by a string. Now, that string represents the name of the node. Not every node needs to have a name, but something like a link needs to have a name. So in this case, if I'm a screen reader user, I use the keyboard to tab to this link, and it's going to be announced to me as navigation landmark list with one item, home link. Notice how it's kind of like gives me context of where I am on the page. As a sighted user, you get that information by just looking at the page. But as a blind user, I need to be told where I am on the page, okay? So an accessible navigation component needs to have this kind of information. Headings are really, really important for screen reader users, okay? Because that's actually their preferred way of navigating a page. They use the H key to tab through the headings to get an idea about the structure of the page. Never ever use a paragraph styling as a heading, because it's not going to be recognized as a heading by the system. An H1 or anything from H1 to H6, these are really awesome tags. We call them semantic HTML tags, and everything. Actually, any tag I use on this example is a semantic tag. A semantic tag has the role built in. And so the moment we use that, the browser recognizes the role of that tag and makes it available in the tree. Now, speaking of tags, the semantic tags, a div is completely, totally not semantic, okay? So in this example, this div is going to be ignored. Sometimes you might see the word generic, because by default, that's the role of a div. A span is also going to be ignored. Notice that the CVG that I'm using as an icon for this button that toggles the navigation menu on a, let's say, mobile view, It's also ignored, but this is ignored because I added ARIA-Hidden. I don't want the screen reader to announce there is a CVG there because it's not important for the screen user, so I'm hiding it. I can't hide it with HTML. So I'm using a set of attributes called ARIA attributes that come in to help the semantic HTML when it can't do any more about accessibility. I use it also here. I added ARIA-Expanded to the button because the screen user needs to know whether this button is collapsed or expanded, okay? And this attribute, ARIA-Expanded, does just that. Okay, now this is the same button on desktop view. So it's probably most likely hidden with a display none. So both the div is going to be ignored and the button itself is going to be ignored. Now, this is an example of a very bad button, which I sometimes see mostly on sites created by junior devs. But I worked with a company recently. I helped them kind of fix some of their bugs. And they had something like this. I'm already giving you a hint that it's a button, but if you just look at the role generic, you would expect to be a div, and indeed was created using a div that has a click event on it. So it's a button for a sighted mouse user, okay? But if it's not a button for everyone, it's just not a button. It's a completely inaccessible button. They refused to change the div with the button because that's all they had to do that, okay? So they asked for help how to fix it otherwise, okay? So I wanted to help them, okay? Sometimes you can make things accessible the easy way or the hard way. So this was the hard way, okay? So that was adding a tab index, okay? Because div is not focusable by default. It's not semantic. A focusable property is available to a link or a button that are built with semantic tags, okay? I also had to add the role button because a screen reader user would even if they are able to tab to the so-called button, they will hear a clickable element, something similar, okay? So I need to make sure that this is announced as a button, okay? And you'll get an idea of what kind of client this was. You know, they send me a screenshot because the moment you add role button and tab index equals 0, the node in the accessibility changes and looks like a legit button, okay? So I wanted to be a smarty pants and I sent them this back. Now, this is in DevTools, but not in the accessibility tree. If you're looking at event listeners, you only see a click event. You should only see, if it's a button, you should see a key down event. Okay, that's built in a button if you use an HTML semantic tag. It's not there with the div, even if you added the role button, okay? So you need a key down event. But why do all this if you can just do this? So build with the button instead of a div. Now, real quick, where can you find the accessibility tree? In Edge, you have, I'm not sure how clear this is. In Edge, you have, in Elements View, you have a button that allows you to toggle between Elements View and the accessibility tree view. Firefox, you have an accessibility tab. In Chrome gives you the option to display it either at the bottom of the Elements View, or you can check this box, reload DevTools, and then you can have the button to toggle between full elements and tree view. And then in Safari, this is from a friend, he explained that you have to go under setting in advanced view, and then under inspect element, you have the option to see the node. You're not getting a full tree view, okay, but you can see each node individually. So what would I like you to be your takeaways from today? First of all, should you use semantic HTML tags? Yes. Check regularly the accessibility tree, especially for interactive elements. Look for role, name, focusable property. Okay, if you create something, check if it's being exposed the way you intended that element to be exposed. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you, Karina. Let's head over and have a quick chat.
You.
All right. What would you like to see in the accessibility tree that's not there?
Oh my goodness, I need to buy a dinner to whoever asked this question. A linter?
Linter, yeah.
Yes, so I would like to see the squiggle lines and every element that's, and actually it could be both in elements and in the elements view and the accessibility tree, and you know how you have it in, I use VS Code for an ID, if there's a bug or something, if you have a squiggle line in either, whatever file, it's going to show at the root level. Okay, because it's not enough to, sometimes all the root, I would say, the root folders or nodes are collapsed, so you might not see where the bug is. I want to see at the root, yeah. Actually, Edge is trying something like this. It was available months ago. I understand that they're still trying it out. Actually, Google, Chrome has promised it's doing that, at least reading their docs, I saw that, so yeah.
Nice. Another question, is a lighthouse audit good enough?
Well, depends, but I'm going to say no. So it guarantees, it uses the Xcore library. It guarantees around 30%, and that's not bad, okay? But it's far away from almost perfect accessibility. Use it, but then do manual testing, test with the users with disabilities and so on, yeah. But it's not a bad way to start. But if you get 100%, don't just say, okay, I'm done with accessibility. That's just the start.
And I think that's time. But there are a lot of questions in the chat, so if you want to respond in there, that'd be great.
Thank you so much.
Let's give a big round of applause for Karina.
Woo, my first tech talk.
You did wonderful.
Oh.
Thank you so much.